love is ill. I wish that it was different. Don't know what it is that made us so indifferent. We're drifting in the dark. Can we do better? Wish I could rewind back to the start. Can we do better than this? Better. You got me high, then drop me low. You got the something I can seem to let go. You got me high, then drop me low. You got the something I can seem to let go.
If you're not watching us live on YouTube, you're missing a lot. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and become a Night Dreamer. Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. Claims that UFO information was inappropriately withheld from Congress, deemed credible and urgent. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. Coming to you live from the Night Dreams Talk Radio studios. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's gonna get bumpy.
Well, I have a source high up in SETI that confirms to me that they, in fact, have received interplanetary signals.
It's Gary Anderson, the one and only Inside Info impresario.
Not normal array. It was kind of a pulsed array, and that it was kept secret and covered up. The SETI people are furious.
And now, get ready to blast off.
The guy who told me that was the founder of the SETI project. A man who had been one of Carl Sagan's best friends, the best man at his wedding.
Of course, because with Gary, there are billions and billions of possibilities. And now, here he is, the one, the only Gary Anderson.
Well, here it is, Friday, and we made it till Friday. Boy, I'll tell you what, Eric is really good at taking Geritol. Do you notice, JC, how he's really puts a lot of oomph into the promos?
I have noticed that. I was just wondering if he made a trip to Amazon like you did and got the same dose.
Oh, yeah, Naked and Afraid in Amazon, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm still healing from all those rape. I was raped by a Bigfoot, you know that. But, rope burns, all that, too.
Oh, rope burns are horrible, let me tell you. Oh, I don't envy you on the rope burns.
Now, I got to ask you a question, a technical one. You seem to know everything, JC. The sun versus the core of the earth, which is hotter?
Very good question. Well, you want to try to say the sun, but I actually think it's the core because it's, a nuclear reactor, but so's the sun. I don't know. That's a good question. Which is it?
Well, what I read today in a science journal, it's the core of the earth, and we'll find out if I'm right or wrong in the next couple of minutes with Dr. Chance. But, it was really interesting. I always thought it was the sun.
I've heard that before, that was the core. And also lightning is hotter than the sun is what I've heard too. But yeah. I'm not a scientist.
I had a friend years ago got hit by lightning.
Listen, that is some weird stuff, that lightning. And I've seen some results of that you can't even explain.
He was fine, but he developed a new pattern after he got hit. Seriously, he became a stutterer.
Yeah, listen, it changes people. I'll tell you one thing. Me and my ex, about 8 years ago, we was just riding a bike one night at night, and I actually, for once in my life, I seen, I guess it's called ball lightning. It was about the size of a beach ball up around a telephone pole for about 10 seconds, and it just went away. It was the weirdest thing I ever seen.
You know what they also found? In the ground, a sword going back over 3,000 years old, and it almost looked like the day it was forged.
Yeah, you know what? That kind of reminds me of King Tut's dagger they found. They made it out of some kind of off-world meteorite metal, and it like it's not rusted. It's like 3,000 years old. There's no rust.
Yeah, this is made out of brass.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, heck, could you imagine you hit somebody with it with their sword and it would probably snap, wouldn't it?
Just the weight of it, I'll tell you what, it would probably knock your wrist off. My goodness.
Yeah, I still don't understand how they could have built the pyramids with the type tools they had. If you really think about it, I still feel like, and I mentioned it so many times, that this earth has been rebooted several times.
Let me tell you, granite is some of the hardest stone there is, and there's a lot of granite blocks in that. And, to carve out a perfectly shaped granite stone that may weigh 20 to 100 tons with, copper tools, that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, and to the listeners in Big Bear Country in California, I hope you're enjoying the show. Anyway, getting back to tonight, what are we going to be talking about tonight?
Hey, I got to tell you, we are in for a treat tonight. We have Dr. Chance Glenn on now. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and a master's degrees as well. Now, he holds patents along with, get this, being a singer-songwriter that has been nominated for a Grammy.
Oh, wow. Dr. Chance, how do you get time for all this?
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
I'd like to know how you do it. I have a hard enough time to find my car keys in the morning to come into the studio, in the afternoon. How do you do this? I mean, you're teaching all this, right? And you do your show podcast on YouTube, which I really found and enjoyed. And then, music too. What type of music?
Yeah. Well, I've been around a little while. I mean, comparatively speaking, I guess. But I've done things like music all my life. Grew up singing, part of a church growing up, things like that turned into more and more interesting avenues. And once I start something, I really just try to chase it down all the way. So music was like that. And I found an interest in songwriting about 20 years ago, and just started doing that. And I don't play any instruments at all. It's all kind of swirling around my head. But you asked about how I'm able to do all this stuff. It's just like I can't shut my brain off. So I'm always thinking, I'm always doing something. I'm always trying to make something into a reality from an idea. And songwriting is just like that.
Oh, yeah. And, I love music. I in fact, a lot of times I leave the show here at night and a song I'll play during the show, it's like stuck in my mind. But I mean, to be creative, I mean, how old were you, Dr. Chance, when you started getting interested in all this type of stuff?
Yeah, I just had my 57th birthday in March.
Oh, you're a kid.
So, yeah, I'm young, but it depends on who you ask. I mean, I'm teach the college kids, and I'm an old geezer to them. So it's all just a matter of relativity, which is something we'll be talking about in a little bit. It's all relative.
I want to go back in time and be young again. Is that possible?
Well, there's a couple of interesting things just to think about when you talk about either time travel, or anything. You ever think about awareness? We are aware in the moment. In this moment right now, we are aware. If our awareness transformed back to 20 years ago, then we would be, that's when we would be. but it's like our awareness, nor can we cast our awareness into the future. So it's just this moment, and wherever we are, that moment is the present. So even if you go back in time, that moment is the present for you. But there's all kind of possibilities, and one of the things that really throws a whole interesting twist on everything is quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is really weird, and we don't truly understand all of its aspects, but a lot of it has been proven experimentally. So that gives way to potential things about time, uh, multiple or different realities that are close to each other but not quite the same. Um, there's a lot of that possibility that is actually scientifically established.
Now, back about a year and a half ago, we had Michio Kaku on the show, and we were talking about, portals and stuff like that. He said
Yeah.
we're very close to breaking another dimension. And if that is possible, he said, then things like parallel universes and all that
Yeah.
stuff could actually happen. Is that possible?
Yeah, I really respect him. He and I actually share another kind of hypothesis in that, I believe that all of our elementary particles that we, atoms, and even going further than that, quarks and new muons and gluons, I believe they're all made up of space-time, and energy kind of coagulates together and creates these particles, and then their affinity and their binding energies and their attractions and stuff form the molecules and then ultimately materials and things that we know. But they're all made up of space-time, so when they're pulled apart, energy is released, and it also takes energy to bind them together, and hence E equals mc squared, from Einstein's relation, comes out of all of that. And it can explain a great many things. Now, it's just a hypothesis. It's not. But if that is the case, it creates an opportunities for a lot of different things. But let me just go back to this parallel universe type of alternate reality type of discussion. What quantum mechanics talks about is an uncertainty principle, whereas the positions and the speed and the momentum of a particle, you can't know all of these things at the same time. You only have probabilities. And so there are probabilities that, one can go right and one can go left. And going right can create one reality, and going left can create another. And you may have heard of this Schrodinger's cat, notion that's been out there about the cat being in a superposition of states where it's both alive and dead at the same time, and you only know when you open the box. But those possibilities create threads of reality, and some can be very close to each other, but they begin to diverge, and you can have two alternate realities. Now, here's the kicker that may come to something you were talking to me about earlier, that you might want to recount. Those realities do not have to be synced up in time. So, for example, one reality could run slower than the other reality, and one could leave the other behind. And there's still two realities that are kind of unwinding on their own. That quantum mechanics mathematically provides for that. And the barrier between these realities are things like some of the elementary constants that almost kind of bind the universe together, different frequencies of resonance, different types of materials, whatever kind of make the difference between these realities. And who knows whether a person could perhaps bounce between different realities. We don't know. And that could also mean time as well. And that's what I was getting at. It could not only be a different place, but it could also be a different time.
Well, is it possible that a person could go back, or someday be able to go back and meet their father, back in time?
One experiment I have thought about was trying to send a message to the past. And again, time, whether it's present, future, or past, is all relative to what point of view you're speaking from. So one of the things that is proven now, let me give you a good example why time and time dilation and time is not fixed. Time dilation means that if you are moving at an enormous speed, your clock runs more slowly than someone who is running at a slower speed. And the reason we know this happens experimentally is because of our GPS satellites. Those satellites wind around the Earth in a very, extremely high speed. There's a slight time difference between the clocks on the ground and the clocks up on those satellites that they have to actually accommodate for if you want to have accurate positioning on Earth. And they mathematically make those adjustments. But the point is that by moving at a different speed, your clock runs differently, and therefore somebody's in the future and somebody's in the past.
Very interesting. How about people that claim they can mentally go back in time travel? What's your feeling?
That's what I was just talking about, is that this awareness, this your awareness time. When are you, right now, both you and I are aware at this moment. Even 10 seconds ago, we can go back in our thoughts. Our present awareness is kind of stuck in this moment in time that actually disappears in a nanosecond. So could someone cast their awareness backwards and now be present in the past? That's the question I think, you might be asking. And the human brain is just so mysterious, and what it can do. And just think about it. I mean, I have pretty vivid dreams. I have dreams about places and things I've never seen, things that act and react, and people that are involved in these dreams that I've never seen before, but they have their own voices, they have their own feel, they have their own presence. Where does that all come from? The mind is creating all that, and it's running through there. How is it able to do all of that?
Well, here's a question, not to interrupt you. Have you ever had a dream? And in this dream, it was like years ago, I had this dream. I was going to go somewhere and do something, and I was going to go into this business, and I was going to talk to this person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I had that in my dream. About a week or two later, all of a sudden, I have to go to this business. I got to go talk to the person. I open up the door, and here's the guy. It was in my dream, and what I was dreaming, and what my dream, all of a sudden, the subject matter and all this was about the same thing as my dream. Have you ever had anything like that?
I've had similar things like that. I've had things that were like, similarities. It didn't go, line for line, note for note with what I saw, but I've definitely had similarities. And you wonder, well, let me set the stage for what, time, what some people think time is. Some people feel that time is almost like the fourth dimension. You know, we live in three dimensions: X, Y, and Z are, you know, height, length, and breadth. And everything that exists that. But if you take a slice in time, that's everything that is, all the physical reality. But if you cast it forward in time, if you could see all time from beginning to end in one place, then someone who had enough versatility in that could move around just like they're walking around in a room. And you could move back in time and move forward in time and stop at a certain time. And, you know, we're the only ones that time moves constantly forward to, but that may be only the way our brains perceive things and not how things really are.
That's a possibility. Does time really exist? I mean, if you go back into it, I mean, if you were on another planet, wouldn't time be different on another planet?
It definitely can be. And it depends on a lot of factors. Even, you know, just taken from a straight physics standpoint, if your planet was close to a very dense star, the time on your planet would run differently than the time on Earth, for example, or some planet that may be near to a black hole, you know, not close enough to, you know, for it to get sucked in or whatever. But, you know, if the gravitational pull was enough, time would run differently for that particular planet. And it would run differently than, you know, on another planet, whether it's Earth or what have you. So, you know, I think all of that is really relative anyway. And even if you take it simply, I mean, we remember our time is based off of the rotation of the Earth and the revolution of the Earth around the sun and all that. But our 24 hours kind of comes from the rotation of the Earth, and then we chop that up into minutes and seconds and all that. So what does that mean on Mars? You know, where the rotation of its planet is a little bit faster. How did, you know, a day for them is different than a day for here on Earth. So you have to sync that up if you want to talk on the same time scale and time frame.
Yeah, but then wouldn't you, if I went to Mars, okay, and decided I'm going to live on Mars for the rest of my life, and since it's going faster, aren't I going to live longer than I would on Earth? From the standpoint, the days would be faster, so the years would go faster?
Yeah, you would, if you counted your time in days and years, yeah. But how does that translate? It's like, think about like currency, how you translate currency from one country to another. This would be translating time from one planet to another. You could still match up your Mars day to, or Mars year, for that example, to an Earth year and come up with the same amount. So you would maybe you live 10% more years on Mars, but you still, in Earth time, it would still be the same.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious.
But of course, the environment, everything else would impact your health and everything else.
Yeah, if you could even live on Mars for an extended period of time. Now, here's the question before we went on the air, and my regulars out there know this story because I've mentioned it two or three times, through the years. Here's the point. Back years ago, 16, 17 years ago, I decided I'm going to go up to Mount Rainier to take pictures of this one famous waterfall. To go there, you have to take a back road. Now, when I was a kid, back in the early 60s, my parents would make me have to go in that Nash Rambler and sit in the back seat with my mom and my grandmother being crammed in that back seat. And we'd always stop at this cafe up in Clearview, or Clearwater, whatever it is, up there by Mount Rainier. And, and I grew up going in there quite a few times, through the years. Years go by, I get married. We have a bunch of kids, like 8 of them. And I'm going to go up here and take pictures of Mount Rainier, this waterfall. And we're on this road going to the waterfall, which we have to go through Clearview. And, my kids see a sign on the side of the road, hamburger and soda, $1. You know, and let's face it, even 16 years ago, that was a heck of a good price.
Yeah.
So you know how kids are. I'm hungry. So we go in there and I pull in and I notice, you know, all the cars are like in the 60s, early 60s. And I didn't see anything newer in there. And we walk in there and the people just gawked at us like you wouldn't believe. And I'm looking at them in my mind and thinking, oh my God, these people, are they from a retirement home? Because they were wearing clothes of like the late 50s, early 60s. And, you know, even the glasses, the whole everything. And
Everything.
the atmosphere in there, you could cut it with a knife. That's how bad it was. And, you know, I wanted to get out of there. You know, so as soon as my kids were done, we took off. And a week later, Dr. Chance, again, I want to go back there and get more pictures. My kids go, I want a hamburger. And I go, sure, okay, because, you know, company, right? And we go on that same road, and I don't find the cafe. And I go up, and then I turn around, and I did it like 3 or 4 times. It's not there. Nothing. And, you know, I did notice where something looked like it burnt down at one point, but I didn't see the cafe. So I stop in the little store, the only store there in Clearview, or maybe it's Clearwater. And I go in there and I start talking to the clerk, and I said, you know, a week ago we stopped at this cafe and ate lunch there. And the lady goes, there's no cafe down the road. I said, no, we did. And she goes, if you're talking about the cafe, that burnt down years and years ago. And that, you know, really shook me up because I don't imagine anything. My 2 kids still, we talk about it off and on because I don't know if there's such thing as a time slip or a different time zone we could have gone into. My question to you is, if I stayed in there longer than I did, could I have been trapped in that time?
And then, you know, no, it depends on the nature of it. I mean, if it was something like a reality kind of floating through or kind of moving through our own present reality, and you kind of just breach that somehow, you know, because at the moment, that's where you belonged. You were in the room, you were in the chairs, you were in the, you know, and so if that was, say, moving through our own time, then perhaps you would have stayed with it. Or perhaps if you stayed there long enough, all of a sudden you've been sitting on the ground, you and your children, right? So you're saying that all the kids today, they still can recall that story?
Oh, yeah, they do. We talk about it
Oh,
occasionally.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's,
I've never had anything like that happen. And if there is going back in time, because I've talked to other people, I've been doing this almost 50 years now, interviewing people. And I have had other people claim, you know, about time slips, going back in the time and seeing stuff you know, and then going back and it wasn't there. I mean, I don't know. It is scary if something like that exists. And I'm just wondering how many people maybe went back in time without realizing it. And then they realize, hey, they're back in time, and then they can't get back forward where they were.
I haven't heard or heard that, you know, that phenomena, but what I would think about is, you know, just like we were talking about dimensional realities and quantum mechanics. So quantum phenomena is also connected to time, and space and time is all connected. You can't separate the two or what have you. So if there are some sort of disruption or an anomaly or something that happens, which can happen, then, you know, that could be like a section of space-time that's floating through our own present reality, and you just happen to intersect. I often think, you know, what people would call, you know, ghosts and apparitions and things like that could be something like this. Because, you know, I always wondered, why would a ghost need to wear clothes, and why do they happen to, you know, look like they did around the time that they died, all this kind of stuff. Why would that be, you know, if you're translating into another spiritual reality, right? Why would you need all this stuff? But if these were kind of either dimensional or time related slippages that people are observing, that could be the reason why you see people with clothes and other things. So, but quantum mechanics probably allows for what you're talking about.
It does. Now, we have to take a quick break. And
Sure.
when we come back, JC, I want you to tell him about what happened at Gettysburg with those, shadows, the back window, your car. You saw like the soldiers. But keep it short because we got a lot of questions with Dr. Chance. We'll be right back with Dr. Chance. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. For more information about Dr. Chance, go to our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. We'll be right back, so stay tuned.
Today's the day when you went away, leaving just the pain. Feels like that very day. Years have passed, still thinking and missing, keeping you on my mind. Today's the day, says the calendar, when you packed your bags without shaking hands. You
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. Real life Groundhog Day. Rare condition causes man to live the same day on repeat. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. Deep in the Amazon jungle, one man.
Hi, I'm Stan Gordon. Check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, let me finish. One man.
Hi, I'm Mark Muncy. Check out Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary the Big Guy.
Yeah, do you mind? One man, naked and afraid.
I'm losing my mind.
You and me both, sister. One man, Gary the Big Guy. No boats, no lights, no motor cars, not a single luxury.
Hey, any more and you'll have to pay a royalty.
Okay, that's it. Hit it! From the summer vacation studios deep in the Amazon jungle, from that tree right there. See at the top, he's swinging.
I'm losing my mind.
Twice?
All right, coming to you live for now on Night Dreams Talk Radio, naked and afraid, Gary the Big Guy Anderson.
And I wonder what he means for now. Have you ever thought about Jay-Z? He could be implying we might not be on the radio very much longer.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's some scary thought in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he needs to go to the Amazon, too. Well, what happened to you in Gettysburg? You told me a story that you were in a car in a fog. What happened?
Yeah, let me tell you something. It was the weirdest thing ever. Me and my friend Linda Kay, we went there and we stayed at this place called Delaware Inn for 3 days. It's between Gettysburg and it's, 5 miles probably out of town, but it's these real dark black country roads. Anyway, 3 nights in a row between 10 and 10:30, this weird fog would come across the road. I mean, real weird looking. Well, the one night she said, get out there and try to get an EVP, see if we can get a ghost electronic voice phenomenon. I said, okay. So I get out there. I didn't hear nothing or anything, but this fog, because I'm standing in it as it's roaring across the road and she's parked in the road, and it feels like it's charged electrically. That was the weird thing. And I didn't think nothing of it. I get back in her SUV and I'm telling her about it. And she's got one of them cameras in the middle of the console that you can see behind you. And I'm looking down at it, and I swear to you, it looked like that fog had the shape of the brim hat. One guy had the other hat. These looked like cavalry soldiers, walking across the street behind us. And I said to her, oh, my God, look at that. What's on the camera? And she looked down, and she says, oh, beep, no, and floored it and about put me in the back seat. But We both seen it. You know, I wasn't
Both
hallucinating
saw it.
myself. It was weird.
Now, what could that be? Could that be a time slip? Or could ghosts be coming in from different dimensions into our time and back to their time?
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about before. Because again, why would they have clothes? If they're ghosts, which are kind of spiritual manifestations, why would they have clothes and be in the same get-up that they were 200 years ago, 150 years ago? But if time and space is moving, and if, for example, certain types of RF, electromagnetic phenomena, tends to weaken boundaries between time and space, and even perhaps alternate realities, then perhaps we could see it in part, and that may be some of the things that are there. I mean, our universe is really weird, and we do not have a real true inkling of everything that goes on. But by virtue of this Jim Webb telescope that's up there now, as it's been peering back, essentially kind of peering back in time, because light year, the farther out you look, the farther in time you're looking, and now they're seeing things that is almost kind of refuted the old notion of a Big Bang, and the Big Bang theory, and that there are multiple universes that live and die, grow and collapse, and then start over again, and we're just one among many. And those universes in reality could even collide and interact and all that. So it's all kinds of notions and ideas that we only are scratching the surface and understanding. So anybody who tells you that they've got it all figured out, don't listen to them. And one of the things I like about science is that we continuously ask ourselves questions, and we can replace theories and beliefs when new evidence shows itself. And I think that that's something that's healthy for societies to engage in, and not be stuck into certain ideas and dogmas just because they are. I wanted to just kind of set the stage one thing for just from the standpoint of the credibility standpoint. You mentioned some of my background. Yes, and you can call me Dr. Chance, and that's because I have a PhD in electrical engineering, got from Johns Hopkins. And one of the research areas I'm engaged in right now is trying to develop a method to warp space-time, and to do it experimentally in a lab, such that perhaps we could use it to propel spacecraft throughout our galaxy and all that in reasonable amounts of time. Right now, we could scarcely travel within our own solar system in our own human lifetimes. So going to our nearest star is beyond our capabilities at the moment. But I'm working on some experiments that might actually allow us to do that, and that's kind of the research area I'm in right now.
Well, again, I'm glad you mentioned that. How are ETs getting here? Are they going through a wormhole? Are they going through a black hole? Are they creating a bubble and going through time? Where we would take years to get maybe from another galaxy, where they could do it in a matter of minutes.
Well, you've probably heard the stories in the news that have popped off about a particular gentleman who's implied that, or not just implied, made assertions that there are not only spacecraft or craft, I'll just say craft, from extraterrestrial visitors, but we have some of them, and we've been reverse engineering some of that, and the guy has a level of credibility to him, and now it's just a matter of Congress trying to get to the real answers of whether or not this is actually going in some super black site somewhere. But to answer your question, if they are getting around, you mentioned some examples, like for example, wormholes. Well, wormholes are again a consequence of distorting space-time and perhaps even ripping it open or connecting two points in space through things like that. But again, through warping space-time, there are also just this specific research I'm working on is based off something a gentleman by the name of Miguel Alcubierre worked out mathematically, and basically said if you can squeeze space-time in front of a craft and stretch it in the back, you can make it move forward. And if you had enough energy, you could do it at incredible speeds, and speeds that go beyond the speed of light. And you're not violating this whole physics rule because you're really not moving. It's space-time that's moving. Think of this. Here's a good example. Suppose you're in your car, and not the car that has the Civil War soldiers in the clouds behind you, but say you're sitting in a car today, and if you press the gas, you start accelerating. What happens? You lean forward, right, or lean backwards because of inertia. But suppose your car didn't move. Suppose the road and everything else moved instead. You would still get where you're going, but you wouldn't feel any of the effects of inertia and acceleration because you're really not moving. Everything is moving around you. That's the idea of warping space-time, and that's why you could perhaps go beyond the speed of light. And if you're able to do that, now you're getting to destinations within our solar system in a matter of minutes, and you could, go to other stars in a matter of weeks. And if there are other civilizations out there in the stars, then those that perhaps have been around longer than we have and understand physics and science and technology at a much deeper level than us, then perhaps that's how they get around.
I just don't buy, honestly. If we had, here's one thing. My dad was an electronic engineer, and I mentioned that again the other night. He was developing electronics for the SST at Boeing's back when they were going to make the super transport. And, I've been around, electronics all my life, That's why I got in radio. And here's the thing, is if I went back in time to 1930, and gave the scientists, the top scientists of the world, my cell phone, could they duplicate the integrated circuits? Could they actually duplicate that phone back in the 30s or 40s or 50s or the 60s?
To a certain extent. The manufacturing processes that created what we are used to today, they didn't exist then. But if someone could tell them how they needed to do that, because think about it, at the time you're citing a transistor was probably the size of, a dime.
Yeah.
Right now, you can put, a million or more transistors into something that you can barely see on your fingertip. That's how, and that just continues to escalate. So it's a process, but the processes were driven by a desire to get smaller, faster, cheaper, all that stuff. So that was the desire to push the technology, and the technology desire drove the manufacturing processes. So if you just went back and said, hey, here's this thing, some would be able to understand what materials you're using and all that, but to be able to duplicate it would not be in their capabilities at the time.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If we have supposedly been retrieving crash UFOs and then back engineering, like Bob Lazar claims, I can't see them being able to do it unless,
well, but
little green men were still
there.
there.
The thought.
Yeah.
Let me finish the thought. You would move them, the people you went back to the 60s and gave that to, you would move them on an technology acceleration curve different than what they would have been on had you not went back and talked to them. So they would probably develop what we have more quickly than it is now.
But then that would have changed time and reality then doing that, wouldn't it?
That's right. You're right. That's right. And you would have done that. And so whether or not you're changing your reality or you're creating a new reality that's a separate thread and an alternate reality that runs side by side with the current one you left, then, that remains to be seen. But now going back to this reverse engineering, while yes, it doesn't say, okay, we get their piece of their craft and their materials and all that, and now we can just go and duplicate it. But if it gives you ideas and it says, oh, wait a minute, this material, it's comprised of these atomic structures. We never thought about putting that together. Now we are. It changes what it is, our pathways. And that's what I think can be happening if this is true. And there's a particular company that has a setup. They call it their skunk works. That's the kind of things they do. It's far out technologies. And the question is, where are they getting some of these ideas from? It's yet to be seen.
I got to ask you a question. I know it's off the subject a little bit. Do you believe that there is life out there and that we're not the only intelligent people? Because I always tell people that we might not be as intelligent as we think we are.
Oh, I'm glad you asked it that way, because I wanted to bring up that point. So I'm going to try to tack that point on at the end of what I say right here. But first of all, yes, I do believe that there are other intelligent civilizations out there. Now, as we just do our count amongst our own galaxy, let's not say the universe, just the galaxy, there's upwards to 400 million stars, 400 am I right? Million or billion? 400 million stars in this galaxy. Now, in each one of those have the potential of one or two planets among. So now you start doing the math on the number of potential planets that are habitable out there, because our solar system has one that we know of. So if there was one or two in every one of those, there could be billions and billions of habitable planets out in there. Now, the question is life ubiquitous? Does it find a way and then evolve into, ultimately into intelligent species? Is that something that's natural and normal, or is this a unique phenomenon? Well, probability would say that it's more normal. And if that is the case, now you have civilizations that could be here shorter time than we were, and there are some that could be out longer than we were, and therefore could be much more intelligent and have a greater command. Now, let me make the quick point about the intelligence. Our intelligence quotient is only a few points higher than a chimpanzee and a dolphin and a whale and other intelligent species, or somewhat intelligent species on this planet. Our intelligence quotients are just a few points higher. Look at the difference where we're doing complex mathematics, we have language, we have technology and structures and all this that we have created and built with those slight couple of points difference in IQ.
Now, here's where I'm going to jump in. We had Captain Paul Watson on our show quite a few times. I don't know if you know who he is, but that he is famous for, stopping the killing of the whales. Whales have a language. They could, at one time before the oceans were polluted with ships and garbage, they could actually communicate with other whales up to 3,000 miles away. I mean, and they had a language. They do have a language. That tells me maybe they could actually be smarter than us because they have no arms and legs or way to get out of the ocean to do anything, they're stuck being what they are.
Well, I think that one of the driving forces for technology is the desire to do things more efficiently, and that is ultimately to use less energy to achieve goals, and that's why we create technologies. And so I think that if their intelligence levels were at our level or beyond, you would see some of that. And even without having arms or, have fins, they would figure it out, just like we would. I think that their probably intelligence levels probably slightly lower than ours. But that I'm saying just the difference there is is the difference between the civilizations we've built and what other intelligent species on the planet have not. And so I was going to say that if there are beings out there that have intelligence levels a few points higher than ours, they could understand things about the universe that we couldn't even fathom. Like 4 or 5 dimensions and other things that we can't even process in our brains. That might be child's play to them.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there you even answered the question there, JC, about ghost or, afterlife. They could be actually in another dimension, in another parallel universe. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's all, and I've just really tried to continue to chase questions, and that's what my show is all about. I've got a podcast. It's called Ask Dr.Chance. And it's on YouTube. It's also on all of the, podcasting platforms there are out there. But I actually solicit questions from Twitter and Facebook and all these other types of platforms. And I try to answer those questions. And, that's what it's all about. I've had a couple of shows so far. And, I continue to answer. Oh, and just to correct myself, just to make sure, it's 400, up to 400 billion with the B stars in our galaxy, which then there could be trillions of planets that have potential life on them just in our galaxy, and there are billions and billions of galaxies in our universe. So the probabilities that there are other intelligent life forms out there are pretty high in my. Now I've got a supposition. I call it, and you can call it the chance condition, or the chance conjecture. You can call it that, and that's why we haven't had a lot of visitations from other species. And this is the reason, I believe. We are not in an interesting part of the galaxy. We're kind of in the backwater, in the boondocks, as it were. Now, think about it. You've seen an anthill before, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, would you get on a plane, travel 22 hours to go to the southern tip of Africa to see an anthill?
Not unless I was on drugs, no.
Right. All right. So why? Because there's anthills. There's no big deal. Ants exist. Why would I go through all that trouble just to go see another anthill? Well, if I'm out in the universe or in our galaxy and I live amongst other intelligent species and we interact and we go between planets and we trade and commerce and all this stuff, why would I bother going way out here to the spiral arm of the galaxy to visit a planet that's got a set of people that are kind of just emerging into their, knowledge of the universe? Why would I go way out there to see them when I already know that there's life here and I already interact with it?
Well,
so what's the point?
Wouldn't they maybe be coming here and looking at us like we're a zoo? Let's face it, humans from the very beginning to now, we're a warrior race. We have been in wars from from Cain and Abel, all the way up to what's going on today. And maybe they come here to say, oh, wow, this is more interesting than watching TV.
Well, but there may be many planets out there like ours. They can watch that too. That's the point I was making about the anthill. There's plenty of anthills. Like if I want to go, I can just go to the anthill that's right outside my door if I want to watch it. So we just may not be in the heavy traffic lanes of the galaxy, and for us, we kind of seem like we're out here all by ourselves when we're just not really in a very interesting place. So that's the position I'm taking on why we haven't seen. Now, there's been some interesting things that have just happened not too long ago. I was looking at that story about the potential, the issue out in Las Vegas. Have you heard that story about? Yeah, go ahead.
Is that the one where supposedly a light like came down and then a ET about 10 feet tall was bouncing around?
in the backyard.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
The only thing about that story that really captures my attention is that the family themselves seemed pretty credible, and they were really scared about something. Now, whether what they said was actually there, I don't know, but this was not a fake and a hoax. Something spooked them, and you could tell that. And that's the thing that really intrigues me. It may have nothing to do with the light that was in the sky, because that could have just been a meteorite.
But
it
the
didn't
timing,
look like it landed in the city.
Yeah, but the timing was perfect for it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of because think about it. Perhaps suppose it was a vessel that was in trouble and crashing, and they found a way to get out. And however they get out, maybe they beamed out, whatever. But they found a way to get out, and they kind of just hunkered down in this place until something else came along and helped them get back where they wanted to be. I don't think that take has ever been discussed, but I think there's a lot of possibilities. But I do like evidence, and I like science, and I like understanding things rationally as if possible. But I open myself up to the possibilities too.
Well, I always look at it, if we would have caught the ET, if it was an ET, I would feel very sorry for it, because I know what our science would do, our governments would do. It'd be taken in the lab the same way we've done with lab animals, dissected and everything to figure out how it survives.
That's what this guy Grush, the whistleblower's implying as well. There's not just craft, but there's also alien beings that they either captured or were in wreckages and bodies and stuff like that. He's suggesting all of that is happening, and they're just keeping it from us at this point. So I think that the thing that I think we'll begin to see answers, because look, here's the thing. NASA has established a organization within itself to look at these questions. The AARO has been established with our government to look at that. Congress has a group that is looking into all of this. So they wouldn't be doing this for no reason. There's some questions they're trying to answer, and the AARO office has already implied there are at least 160 to 70 unanswered sightings that they have on their
Dr.
books.
Chance, we're out of time. I would like to, if it's okay with you, you might give it some thought. I'd like to have you on, and we could talk about what we're just talking about, for a whole hour, because there's, and all that stuff, and we can just get into it really deep. Again, why don't you share again your podcast, where they can find it on the internet site along with the YouTube?
All right, I'm Ask Dr. Chance. I think you just Google that. You'll find it almost anywhere. It's on YouTube under Ask Dr. Chance. The Debrief produces it, so debrief.org. You can find it there. And on Twitter, I'm at Professor_Glenn. So you can connect with me, tweet on there, tweet questions. I love to continue this kind of conversation that way.
Great. I want to thank you for coming on. I want you to have a great weekend, will you?
Thank you. And happy Father's Day coming up to both of you, as well as myself, and all the fathers out there who are out there getting it done, running from Civil War ghosts or going to diners and going back through time. Whatever it takes to be a dad, do it.
Good quality time, my friend. You take care, and we will talk to you on the other side of the campground. You take care.
Thanks.
And we'll be back next Wednesday. We got some great guests lined up next week. Again, go to our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. It's going to be updated tomorrow with all the guests for next week. And again, if you want to get information about Dr. Chance Glenn, we have that on our website again at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Everybody have a good one and a good Father's Day, too. I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get underwear for Father's Day. Everybody, and socks. Everybody, you have a good one.
Early in the driving rain, found John's out hitting on the liquor again. It wasn't too late, about 10:30 when he led